Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Build Your Foundation. Today, I am joined by Elan, who is an investor of ours, but actually, we started off our relationship with him trying to help me get another accounting job. Elan's since then been such a great friend, and just want to welcome you here today. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. So my name's Elan. I run the accounting and finance division at Winchester's, which is a boutique recruitment company. My business partner Neil Drew and I started about 10 years ago. I like real estate. Early on, I've been recruiting for 15 years and I don't know, I kept getting drawn in. I've always been interested in the industry. So I tend to focus on real estate finance and accounting recruitment. And it's been 15 years of that. So it's an interesting time in the market, but hence why I invested in Foundation.
Elan, before we get to what was the first ever job you had, to make money?
My first ever job. I was 11 years old. I'm originally from Owen Sound, Ontario. So this job was outside of Owen Sound, and my parents were big. Like, you have to go out and get a job. So they had a friend who had a sheep farm. So that's where they threw me in at 11 years old. My job was when the sheep will clean out the barn and all that with a pitchfork and deal with the rats in the barn. But then a big job was when he was moving the sheep from one pasture to the other. My job was like to stand up and scream and wave my arms as the sheep were coming at me to redirect them in the right way.
No way. And what
Yeah.
were you getting paid for this?
I was getting paid $6 an hour. Yeah.
Nice. That's pretty good.
It's,
Like
you
at,
know what,
at
at that
10,
time, I'll take
10
that.
years,
Yeah.
10 year, you said 10 or 11? 11 years old.
I was 11. I was 11. Yeah.
11 years old, $6 an hour, yell at sheep, clean up after sheep. Damn.
I should have invested in Amazon. Yeah, no. No.
so, so that's pretty cool. So I guess your parents pushed you into doing that. Is that the case?
Yeah. So yeah, my parents were big on, you work, especially during the summer. Even in my teens, I would always have jobs in the evening. I've had some messed up jobs though. I shouldn't say messed up. I've just had some interesting jobs.
Yeah, so I
Uh,
mean, I guess everybody wants to hear it. So, obviously now you're a successful professional who owns his own boutique recruitment firm and does very well and has a number of investments. But obviously, it all started from back with the sheep.
she
Um, tell me how that kind of compounded, and your journey before you kind of got to recruiting.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I do like working. I always liked working, and not even just for, I don't know, not just to make money. That's a nice byproduct of it. But no, I do like seeing a need and or a problem and trying to solve it. But some of the jobs I had, like after the sheep farm, maybe I don't know, I can't remember what. I was a soccer referee as well at 13 years old. Great to build my resilience, but being yelled at by parents, like coaching or all of the coaches and the parents together yelling at me, that built some resilience. What else did I have? I delivered flower arrangements. So
Oh,
this was when
cool.
I was maybe, I don't know, 17. I got my license, and that was like Valentine's Day and all of this. I'm having to do 20, 30 deliveries in a day. I can hear the arrangements like tipping over in the back. So I would get there. Someone ordered 2 dozen roses. I'm trying to fix the arrangement at 17 years old. That was an interesting one. Doing it during
And
university. Was that?
how did you come about these jobs? Were you just like, I'm done with like the sheep, I'm done with whatever. I'm gonna go into the refereeing. I'm gonna go try something new, or was it just
That's a good question. At that time, I thankfully had my mom was big into the community, so I would just tap her network. I'd be like, "Who do you know? Who's like?" And she would go out as well. I think the sheep farmer, he was a father in the school. I was friends with his kid. Um, Actually, you know what? The flower delivery place as well. I was friends with their kids, so he owned the shop himself, so got a job there. I eventually applied to the city and got a job. This was when things got good. I got a job at the dump, the local dump.
ooh,
Yeah, you know what? Surprisingly good job. My job was to clean the whole side of the dump that you would come and see, clean that whole side of garbage. Unfortunately, within 2 days it would be covered in garbage again. So
Wow.
that was an interesting job.
And was that after flowers or before
That was
flowers?
after flowers. Yeah, that was after
Okay.
flowers. That was
But
first
what
year
was your think?
university.
What was your thinking? Like, why are you switching roles at this point?
Oh, good question. Why did I switch roles? I think I'm not gonna lie, I did like learning and all that. Not in these jobs, I wasn't necessarily learning how to code in Python and probably do some useful things, but I think it was more just like how to work hard, work ethic. That's probably the stuff I learned at that point. I also learned what I don't like to do. And that
And
is,
I guess that's why you kept switching, because you got to have different experiences and like
yeah,
figure out what you liked and didn't like.
100%. Yeah. And I very quickly was able to make that decision. Even when I moved to Toronto, I became a tour consultant and I was selling trips.
No way.
I was
Oh yeah,
selling
yeah, yeah,
educational trips to teachers, which is great unless you're the first person in the company. And I'm trying to sell to Hutterite communities in northern Alberta, and they're saying we're not allowed to fly. So that was a tough search or tough job, but I did that for 6 months, and very quickly I was just like, I can't make enough money at this. Like it's like my input, the output is not equaling the input. More work doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to do better financially. And it was fine, but I didn't enjoy it that much. So I eventually found my way to recruitment. I think I was built for a commission structure role, be it real estate agent or some kind of sales position, but that's where I
Cool.
found most of my comfort.
And I guess that kind of came from all the experiences you had. Like, when was the first sales role you had after, let's call it, working at the dump?
Uh, that's good. You know what? I worked in Montana's actually. I had a nice stint as a server
Oh,
in Montana's. That one, I really like that. I like singing happy birthday to the crowds. That was good. But, you know, eventually, very quickly, you look around and you're just like, can I see myself here 10 to 20 years from now? And for that one, it was a no for me. Just shift work and all of that. I was like,
Elon,
no.
where'd you go to school?
I went to university at Wilfrid Laurier. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Okay, so I noticed that I'm friends with a lot of people who went to Laurier. It's really weird. I went to school abroad
Hey,
myself, but a lot of my friends and people I interact with are Laurier. Okay, cool.
I'm friends with
Actually,
a
the
lot of Brock
podcast,
people too. There's some
the
similarities between the two for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. So then you went to Laurier, so you left Owen Sound and you came to the Waterloo region, which was
Yeah.
probably a lot more people uh, than in Owen Sound.
Metropolis. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's somewhere between Owen Sound and Toronto. So it was great. I loved Laurier. I loved Waterloo. Felt like at times a big high school. But even during university, it's like I had OSAP, and I was I was like getting jobs. I was security. They made me a bouncer at the local club. I was so bad at it. Like they'd be
And
like, "Hey, kick."
I know you'd be bad at it because you're actually a nice guy. So you would
That's
be
it.
like,
And
"Oh
they're
my
like, "Kick these people out," and I'm like, "Guys, can we please? Like, what are we doing here?" And it'd be some of my friends, and I just like, "No, I can't do this." But I still did it for a while. It was okay.
It's cool, man." So you definitely were just trying different things to see kind of what you liked and didn't like, eh?
Yeah, always trying. Like in the summer, I was working for a marketing firm, selling fertilizer. So when you go into
Yeah.
Home Depot, I'd be there wearing an apron called a Grow Pro,
Oh,
and they're like,
nice.
"How much phosphorus is in this?" I'm just like, yeah. I honestly, this is supposed to make your grass greener. You can buy this one; it's cheaper.
So that's interesting. So did you do the co-op program while you're at Laurier?
No, no, I didn't actually. No, and I didn't do the business program. Looking back, obviously, wish I did. Most of my friends were in
Yeah.
business, but
What'd
I
you
did
do?
political science and psychology.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I knew I liked working with people. The political science angle was I was just enjoying learning the courses. I was really interested in that. But the psychology, that was what I originally went for.
Okay, so that's cool. So you're studying about, people, and I guess let's call it structure of society
Yep.
and how to organize people. But then in your after hours or on your summers and whatnot, you're working in different businesses, learning how they
Mhm.
work. And since you've been doing it for such a long time, it compounds out. You graduate, What are you doing at that time?
So I graduate, and yeah, this takes. I actually move. I moved to Taiwan in 2007.
Okay.
so, so I moved to Taiwan for to teach English. That was a thing at the time. I don't
Oh
know if
yeah,
people are
yeah,
still
yeah,
doing
yeah.
it, but it's like you graduate, go teach in South Korea or Japan. I had some friends in Taiwan, so I said, "Let's give this a try." He said, "Come over here." I had no clue what I was doing.
Right,
So yeah,
right.
I packed my two suitcases and showed up in a southern part of Taiwan called Kaohsiung.
Very cool. And so you go teach English there, and I think at some point you go to Bali,
No,
or
never made it to
what?
Bali.
Did you get to other parts of Southeast Asia?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So when we were coming back, it was a year and a half, and I was with my buddy, and we are like, and honestly, like it was an amazing experience, but I did quickly learn I don't think I'm built to be a teacher long term. So it was a good learning opportunity. It was amazing, but to come back, we could have just flown back, but we said, why don't we take buses and trains? So yeah, we went from did a lot of traveling in Southeast Asia, but then we took buses and trains from Hong Kong all the way up through Beijing, Mongolia, did the trans Mongolian train across Russia, and then went into Europe and flew home from France.
Very nice. That's awesome. Now I'm recalling the story now because it's been so long since you told me this, but
It was
that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, I know, right? Well, it's almost been 20 years. Holy.
Yeah, I mean, as we're talking here, I'm just wondering what are your kids gonna say? They're gonna be like, "Okay, Dad, what did you do next?" And you're gonna like tell them. They're gonna be like, "Dad, like, what the hell are you doing this all this time?"
Yeah, I know. How many jobs have you had? But I've always been a
Um,
curious guy too. I think that's led into it. And
awesome.
I think I was set to find some type of role where I could feed my curiosity, which is what I'm doing now in recruitment. All I do is talk to people and learn about their backgrounds, what they've done, where they're from. So it has. I think I've found eventually what I'm really happy with.
Until the next episode, guys, you'll find out what he's
That's it. He went back to
doing.
sheep farming. Yeah,
You never know. It could be full circle, you know?
that's true. That's true.
Um, so obviously so obviously you're in Taiwan and all these things, and it seems like you're paying your way as you're going along the way, doing various
Yeah.
jobs, covering yourself. When do you first start getting into like investing in like stocks, real estate, like trying to build your wealth up?
Really early on. Actually, my mom was actually a really good. She was borderline a day trader, but had no financial backing whatsoever. But she picked them. Like she was buying Tesla early on. She was going deep on
Um,
the tech stocks. What would be now the Magnificent Seven. And I would
yeah.
always look at her and be like, "What are you doing?" And I've got my money in my savings account, giving me my 2% interest rate. So early on, she introduced me to it. Although I will say my stock picking is absolutely horrendous. So if you name it, like Nortel, yep, I was in Nortel. Valiant Pharmaceuticals, yeah, lost a lot there. So eventually, like early on, I liked investing. I liked the idea of my money making me more money. But it was probably in the last 10 years that I started to look more into alternative investments.
Okay, so I guess as part of this, like you were doing stock trading since I guess a relatively young age, and you probably still do it
Yeah.
now.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
I do.
and then I guess like when did you start getting into real estate investing?
Ooh. Um, Probably early on, but through public REITs. So I was investing, with public REITs because I found the dividends really attractive. But then, eventually, as you see the stock price like go down 50%, you're kind of like, oh man, I need to maybe diversify to like other, private companies that maybe don't have such crazy overheads. That was my thought process. So probably in the last 5 to 6 years, I would say.
Okay,
Yeah,
and obviously you own. I guess your first foray into actually owning physical real estate was when you bought your own condo.
correct. 2016. Yeah, bought a condo downtown. At that time, even at that time, people were like, "You're crazy," or at least my parents were, "You're crazy." And then, sure enough, yeah, I ended up selling it in 2013. During that time, had purchased a house as well. But yeah,
2023, 2023.
2023. Yeah.
I
Sold
think
the
you said
condo.
2013. You said
Oh,
2013.
sorry, 2023. Yeah, sold the condo in
Okay.
2023. Um, and it was a really nice entry into owning real estate. I'll be honest, I don't think I'm set up well to be a landlord. I had some really good tenants. Some of the other tenants, I was just like, I either need a property management company or I just don't want to receive another call at 2 in the morning asking how to put a light bulb in.
It's funny. It's a common example, right? Because obviously
Yeah.
you became a high earner, you're making good money, or you're making more money, and then you're
Mhm.
just trying to rent your place out because you're leveling up out of the condo, you're moving into a house, and
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, this is gonna be free money. It should be easy. But obviously, as you know, you get those late night calls, you get
Yes.
tenants not paying, or other issues, and then you're like, okay, well, I rented a unit, and you'd expect me to give it to you in like some similar fashion, and things might be destroyed, right? So
Totally. And just the amount, like exactly, I have to replace a dishwasher or a fridge. Like it is a big expense. So
yeah, I'm
yeah.
I'm definitely happy I'm not the direct property manager anymore. At times I'll still deal with things or jump into things, but it's especially if you're running a business. And again, I started my
Mhm.
journey having an accounting practice and investing in real estate, or having a job and working in accounting practice. Sorry, having a job and investing in real estate. And it's kind of like, oh shoot, now your evenings and weekends go to that, and you're like, well, I thought this was gonna be my free time, right?
That's it. Yeah. And I think as you said, is like, I own this asset. It should just be making me money, but it does come with, I don't know, a lot of hands-on management, or at least more than I was anticipating.
Yeah, and I want to say about 6 years ago, we were still chatting because I guess we were just venturing into apartments then. But I think
Yeah.
you were still looking at investing in rental properties at that time. But I guess you
100%.
rented your condo, and then you realized I don't want to do this anymore, and then that's where you started looking at private investments.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Especially when I looked at the returns and 8 to 10% on some of these investments back then, I was fine with that, if I didn't have to, again, answer a call at 2 in the morning.
Yeah. So that peace of mind and the lack of having to be hands-on and just truly be passive made it worthwhile versus making an extra 2%.
That's it. Yeah. Because then you start to take a look at your own time, and like your own time is money. And you start to like, I read a book recently by what's his name? Ravikant is his last name, and really interesting book. But
Love
yeah,
account.
exactly. And early on, he viewed his time by the hour. And so if I was able to peel myself back from everything and saying, yeah, what am I doing? Having to drive down to the condo to help them put in this light bulb. What is this? So yeah, I learned pretty quickly that I would rather be a passive investor than a hands-on landlord.
You know what's funny? I started the same way. Like I wanted to just be passive, but because there weren't solutions available, which is why now I'm an asset manager and I'm doing what I do today, right?
Oh, makes sense. Makes total sense. But you're
Yeah,
not doing
so
property management anymore, are you?
no, no. I mean, we still fill in at actually, for example, yesterday, we were at one of our buildings where we're having a $2 million bid out to contractors and just having different trades go through. And then we showed up to another building where we're just kind of sketching out drawings for converting existing units into multiple units. And I had a tenant come, and I guess we were just parking off the side so we don't bother the commercial tenant that we have as well. And then tenants started going, "I'm going to call the cops on you," and whatever. And I'm just like, obviously there's a property manager in between, so they don't really know who I am. And so I just moved the car and parked in commercial. Said, "Okay, I'll deal with the commercial tenant or whatever
Oh,
happens." And then I had to yell at this guy because he's standing, he's just wearing sweats with a random bag, standing in front of the door, not getting in the building. I'm like, "Hey, who are you?" And had to like get into that whole confrontation, right? And then find
oh,
out, okay, he's not thing. And then obviously as we're walking through, they're now complaining, telling us all their issues, and it's like, listen, there's a process to this. You've been communicated multiple times. You've been told, here's the property email, here's the property phone number. You just call that, communicate through that, put your requests through here. And unfortunately, it's just, for as many great tenants you'll also have some negative ones. So in this case, obviously, I like while I'm there on site with Jeff, like just handling that and doing that, I guess, property management, property communication there. But on a day-to-day basis, no, I'm not doing the property management. Like I'm not calling handyman and whatnot and dealing with issues myself. No.
no, and it's true. Like I only owned the condo for 7 years, but in that time, I had multiple tenants. Some of the tenants were amazing, and like I was, I offered it at a below market rent. I never put the rent up as well, just because I was always told if you get a good tenant, you hold on to that person and like treat them well. So I did that, but ultimately it didn't change the fact that some of the tenants were, just not as good as the other ones, or at least not as
100%.
caring about the condo. They're never gonna care as much as I do about the condo because they don't own it.
Exactly. And then unfortunately, as it turns over tenant to tenant, you got to bring the standard back up to where the new tenant wants it. And unfortunately, the way the rules in Ontario, as you know, are it's just more in the tenant's favor, right?
100%. Yeah, like between the one we redid the bathroom because I think it had previously been done incorrectly, or there wasn't a leak. Anyways, that was like an $18,000 cost, and that's just a straight hit to me. So with that stuff, I was like, it makes more sense just to be passive.
100%. Yeah, we get this question all the time, and we should probably make a video on this. Is they're like, "Well, I can just go do it myself," and I'm like, "Go ahead, go do it
Good
yourself."
luck.
We'll
That's
see.
it.
We'll see you in 3 to 5 years when you're saying, "Oh my God, I wish I didn't learn the costly mistakes by trying to do it, and then I got ripped
Yeah.
off by contractors. I didn't know what I was doing." Yada yada yada. It's
No,
like
it's true.
it's a simple business, but it's not easy.
I
Right?
agree.
There's still so many intricacies and little things in it, which is why I guess it's important when you're picking an asset manager or who you're working with, uh, why you want to kind of go with them. So,
Hmm.
you sold your condo and you started kind of, or even before that, you started getting into saying, look, I want real estate returns. You clearly see the value in it. I guess what kind of drew you to real estate overall?
Like in my mind, when I was really young, I had the idea, and I think maybe some people have it as well, as just like owning land, or and in my mind, it's like I'm this great landlord. Everyone is happy. All the tenants are happy. Everyone's paying below market rent. Like everything is great.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is some kind of complex I have, but that was the dream when I was younger. Now, as I said, like now moving through it, that dream is, I don't have the idea of like owning multiple buildings, but in my mind as well is just, yeah, I did always want to own, I don't know, a tangible asset. Um, Even as we take a look at all the tech stocks going through the roof, in my mind, like a part of me is still more comfortable owning an asset that, I don't know, I can see and it's not going anywhere. They're not making any more land. So I think maybe that's why I was drawn in at an early
Okay,
age.
so it gives you a good sense of comfort. You can touch,
Mhm.
feel, and see it, and you know how the money is being made by either utilization of the land, living on
Yeah.
the land, or doing whatever something with the land.
And that's it.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And even
yeah,
from a development standpoint too, it's uh, like I know some developers get a bad rap, but ultimately without the developers, where are we living? And so I think, even for a lot of my clients, like they're doing really important stuff. And a lot of them are, focused on affordable housing and all of this stuff. And especially now with a push towards purpose-built rental development, it's more important than ever. So I was drawn to that as well. And just with some of the buildings that, some of the developers put up, I think they're amazing. And you can almost, master plan communities, all of this. You are building an entire community, which is, I don't know, pretty admirable.
which is interesting because that ties back to your poli sci kind of background, right? Of understanding
Yeah,
society and whatnot as well, right? Because you're building you're literally building what the future looks like in your community. So
totally. And
yeah,
crafting what the community is going to look like. Where are we putting that grocery store? How much retail is going to be at the bottom? It's, yeah, I don't know, it's a big responsibility, I would say.
awesome, awesome. And then I guess like how did you? I mean, obviously we knew each other with you trying to help me find a role all those years ago,
Yeah.
and then we just stayed in touch because then I had the accounting practice and you're helping with that as well. What
Yeah.
what kind of drew you to investing with us, and how's that
I,
experience been for you?
Yeah, I would be honest, it's probably you. Like, and maybe I'm probably quite similar to other people too, where I tend to invest where I know the person. Like even some, of my clients, I get to know the people. I know who I'm introducing there, and so it just gives me way more comfort as opposed to randomly investing in a company I've never heard of, I don't know much about. Um, So I think you being there and running, you know, foundation along with I knew PV as well. Jeff, I kind of began to know after you started foundation, but I think that gave me comfort. Also knowing how scrappy you are, because I get to see it from the recruiter side with some of these companies, and in real estate, I think we're also seeing maybe a bit of a reckoning right now where a lot of the groups have not been looking at their costs. And I feel like you are that type of guy where you look, you're looking for wins. You're looking to reduce costs wherever you can. For me, that's important. So yeah, that's why I was like happy to jump in.
Awesome. Yeah. And how's that experience been for you though, investing with
Horrible.
us?
No, I'm kidding. No, it's been great. No, dealing with you has been the worst. No,
Yeah.
no, it's been really good. Yeah, and again, like I'm still invested in public REITs and all that, but I do feel a bit closer to your group because you guys, you're sending regular emails. We're getting to see what you're doing. You're always there if I pick up the phone and give you a call and can tell me, with the most recent bid you're putting out to some of the contractors, like it's like I'm not having to deal with an investor relations person and I'm asking them about a specific asset in the portfolio and they have absolutely no clue what they're talking about. I think that is maybe a bit different where we're dealing directly with the founders.
100%. I think it's interesting that you say that because that's exactly kind of how I got into real estate is because when I was working at the smaller accounting firm, I invested in Dream Office REIT, and then I
Mm-hmm.
actually joined like the investor call, and then I actually, as a private investor, with my $2,000, asked like a question and had it answered. And it was interesting because obviously you can read financial statements, you can read MD&As, but you really kind of want to know like what's going on in each business. And so obviously the earnings calls where analysts usually are the only ones who join, are interesting because you get to hear what is the mind of management and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
uh, honestly, it was interesting because obviously Michael Cooper at
Mm-hmm.
Dream has been very successful and done
Yep.
well. And like so, when I got to join them after I was done working at accounting firm before I started our accounting firm, that was a great experience. And I found like what gave me confidence, I guess, working there, or like as an investor at that time, or small investor, but is the fact that like they really knew what they're doing. They're really immersing themselves. But I realized the missing factor between like again public markets and their shareholders is there's not enough communication. And you're seeing now with I'm sure like Robinhood and I think Wealthsimple just did one where they're doing like
Yep.
a live webinar Q&A where the CEO is coming out talking to the investor so they know the person.
Yeah.
Going away from the behemoth organization of a corporate overlord to like, okay, we're just people too, and this is what
Mm-hmm.
we're doing, and we want to hear you, and we want to give you that result. And I think that's what we are trying to do with our business here.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think it's different than, or at least my dad was raising me to invest in mutual funds and like
yeah,
get a government job where you have a pension, and like mutual funds are a good example of like I don't know, throwing your money in there and it's like I hope it goes up, and I don't really know what's in it, but that seems fun, as opposed to I think a lot more people, or maybe in my mind, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but there is more comfort in being able to know details about the assets, talk to the founders, you know, and I don't know, maybe you'll get so big that it's going to be hard to answer calls from investors, but for at least now, there's a lot of comfort there.
I think one of the things is like we understand that at some point, if there's like 1,000 plus investors, we might not pick up the phone every single day. But I think
Yeah.
if you look at some of the really successful businesses, it's like they still get back to their customer or to their investor, and that's what's allowed them to be so successful. So hopefully, our plan is to do that. Obviously, we host
Mm-hmm.
those investor social as well, and that's that way we can kind of do like one to many in
Mm-hmm.
that format, and so that we're still engaged with people, right? And obviously, you're part of the as an investor in the fund, you're part of our private Facebook group, and you get all our
Yep.
newsletters and information that kind of keep you in the loop. And that's like just another easy way that we find to touch base with people.
Yep. And it's been good. And
Awesome.
I think having three of you as well, you, PV, Jeff, you do seem to have a good partnership as well. And sometimes that's hard to find with some of the businesses out there. I also think like because I knew PV as well, because as a recruiter, I had helped him at one point. I feel like you all bring something a little different to the table.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Jeff is a realtor, right?
Jeff's a realtor, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that gives
Army,
me
army, army guy turned realtor, yeah.
there's a lot of skills in there. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's been good too. I've enjoyed it.
Awesome. And I guess similarly, you use that type of mindset when you're looking at other real estate like private investment opportunities and like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And
You
then
know
as you're
exactly.
like,
I'm sorry.
and then as you're like going forward, obviously since we spoke, you went from being single to now married, father of two. Um, how do you see like what's in store for you for the future? Obviously, your business is continuing to grow.
Yeah. It's a good question. So, and in recruitment, there's behemoth companies out there, large public businesses. For us, we never really want to be a gigantic machine. For us, we prefer being a bit more of a boutique shop where ultimately we're not each working on 1,000 different roles and taking anything that comes in. We get to be a little picky with our clients and the roles that we're working on. So we end up beating a lot of the large ones. For us, probably just keep growing organically as a company. For me personally, from the investment side, probably just keep looking at diversification, because that for me, I think this is important to have on top of being invested, excuse me, in the stock market and other stuff like that. So I think I'll just keep looking for diversification. I'll probably keep investing more with you guys because it has been so good. So yeah, I think that'll be the plan moving forward. Eventually, I don't know, I'll get my wife involved.
Do you think now, as obviously with kids and stuff, you're having less free time to look at, I guess, or manage investments or do other things? So it's easier to stick to what you kind of know, whether it's buying index funds or
Yeah.
individual stock names or putting into some of the private REITs you're involved with.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, even like at one point, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I talked to a financial advisor and ended up like she manages the stock portfolio side of my investments because I couldn't be trusted anymore after making so many bad calls.
Listen, I'm not going to judge you on that one because if I look at my stock history, it's like it's ups and downs, right? It's like, oh, I'm hitting it, hitting it, hitting it. No, I'm not hitting it anymore. Okay, it's growing, it's hitting, and it turns
Yeah.
out just buying some of the index ETFs would have just had me doing better in my
Yes.
stock portfolio. But that's the thing, right? Like, at least with real estate, I know I can kind of control the return because all I have to do is get a turnover, increase the
Yeah.
rent, or create additional units and increase the rent. Like, you can mathematically control it. And again, the stock market is just up to the sentiment of the market.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
And like for me too, like I'm not into short-term investing. I want long-term investing strategies. And so for me, even with the like, the appreciation of an asset, I'm less concerned about that. I know maybe that's bad or maybe that's not the right way to do it, but I'm more concerned about like steady cash flow, that kind of stuff. Um, because I'm in it for the long haul. So asset prices will go up and down, but you would hope over 20 years it's going to be up, and during that time you'll make that rental income.
awesome. And I guess, it obviously took you a while to get to finally buying real estate and then investing in private REITs. I guess if you could go back, what's like a piece of advice you give yourself or to an audience member who's thinking like, okay, I'm not coming from a business background. I'm trying to figure out where I fit in this world. Like but I want to build my wealth and safety net so that, you know, I can have a good life.
I would say for me, and I remember hearing this strategy back when, is like stop chasing big returns, big wins, all of that stuff. And that's obviously attracted me to owning real estate through your fund and other ones. But for me, it's just focus on that. Let's call it 8 to 10. If you're getting more, great, but 8 to 10% a year, just steady compounding growth. Stop chasing, you know, I don't know, the next AI unicorn or something like that. And you know what? If you do and you hit it, great. But are you going to know when to sell? For me personally, I think I'm exactly the wrong type of investor to be managing his own portfolio in the stock market. Even in COVID, do you remember in, what was it, March or April? Everything
Yeah.
plummeted. And I remember I was there and I was like, I have to sell some of this. Like this, it's going to go down more. So yeah, sold some at exactly the wrong time. It was shortly after that that I signed up with the financial advisor. So
Okay.
I would say like, yeah, for me personally, stop. Yeah. And I did that a long time ago, 5 or 6 years ago. After that, stop chasing the huge returns. Just go for steady stuff that you know about as well. And, trust people who are probably better at it than you are.
Awesome. Well, Elan, thank you so much for being on today's episode
Yeah.
of
Thanks for having me.
Build Your Foundation. I'm sure for a lot of people, it's going to be super valuable because usually most of our other investors are already existing real estate investors. But you're more someone who's, you know, worked really hard from a young age, realize, investing is important, build your business and really focus on that. Yes, you had some real estate investment exposure, realized
Mhm.
really early it wasn't for you, but it makes sense, and that's why you're investing in private REITs, whether it's with us or others, and just continue to let that work and grow, and just adding to it while you focus on your business and just time with your family.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Thanks for letting me focus on my family and not receive 3 a.m. calls from my tenants.
So if the audience wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way they can get in touch with you?
You know what? I'm on LinkedIn. That's where most people will flip me a message, or I've got my email on LinkedIn as well. If you're in finance and accounting, you're looking for a move, or you're looking to hire in the GTA, just flip me a message. This is all I do, and with my team as well. I think we're up to 7 people now. So yeah, reach out. Thank you.
Awesome. And I can approve Elan for being a great recruiter. So reach out to him if you're
Oh,
looking for a role.